Hello, hello. Hello, hello. All right, we're going to get started. Make your way to a seat, please. Please come on down. We have plenty of seats in the front. Stay down, find a new friend. Yeah? Yeah? All right. Woo, mics! All right. Okay. Again, welcome, folks, back to our afternoon session, day 2. We're wrapping up session, lightning round. Let's give that. Hey. All right. We have 4 wonderful presentations. Let's engage in this space again. Diversity in our kind of fighting so that we can have more conversations later in the network session. So we're going to kick it off first. I'm going to invite folks up one by one. Switching it out. We will be navigating our AV and just rolling with it as we normally. All right, so first person up, can I have Nathan Johnson walk up here, please? Nathan will share. Round of applause as you come up. Thank you. Nathan will share a story of the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative, where 6 partners are working together to strengthen local planning and development. Now, in response to escalating wildfires, the collaborative's expertise includes economic development, natural resources, agriculture, outdoor recreation, workforce, and tribal wisdom. Together and in partnership with the Strategic Growth Council, Nathan and the collaborative are building capacity and readiness to help Siskiyou wildfire communities prepare for future climate investments. Thank you. Go.
Thank you. Thank you. Our panel joke is that if the mic working gets a great applause, we're hoping that that's where the bar is for our presentations. Thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor to come down out of the hills out in Siskiyou County. We got to have a couple Strategic Growth Council members up our way just a couple months ago to see where we're doing this work. It's really the frontier in many ways, and I'm excited to share where our project's at. Just briefly, so Nathan Johnston, I former snowboard instructor, turned computer science engineer, turned educator, turned philanthropist. So if you're wondering, what are you doing facilitating a climate collaborative? As someone says, trust your instincts. That's a good question. And really the answer to that is, this is where I live. So I was working in Hong Kong when I turned 30 and had this realization of, I want to work where I live, and I want to do my work in a place that I care about. And here in this presentation is about the importance of place and how this Strategic Growth Council Regional Climate Collaborative Funding Program is enabling us. And by us, it's really a team, a cross-cutting team around the county to listen to our community and to learn where we're actually at right now and what's needed to maintain the lifestyles that we all love in our county. So as we get into that, I want to invite you actually into this kind of like place-based mindset. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. We could do the meditation. You'd fall asleep. We will do just 30 seconds. Try to recall a recent moment where you really felt at home in nature. It doesn't have to be in your home or in your home place, home state. Just recall a specific moment, a specific place. What the science of storytelling tells us, the more that you can then ground that place in a moment, in a story. So who were you with? What were you thinking about? What were you feeling? What could you smell? Like, engage your senses. So really just take 30 seconds and recall something specific. In one of our early partner meetings in the Siskiyou Climate Collaborative, we had, for the first time, we had the CLTRE Tribe Department of Natural Resources together with the Shasta Valley Resource Conservation District, together with the UC Davis Ag Extension, together with the Siskiyou Economic Development Council, together with the Siskiyou Outdoor Recreation Alliance. This is and the Smart Workforce Development Center. This is the first time in our county that we've seen a concerted effort to bring together these different partners, who are just some partners of many, many, many who could be at the table, right? But we're building a commitment together to reach out to stakeholders throughout the county. So in our early work, we're focusing on a really storytelling approach. So we engage questions like the one I just asked you over a longer period of time to really evoke histories and stories of what matters. Why do you live here? What do you care about? And early on, the patterns that emerged is, the obvious things. Everyone cares about the place where their kids are going to grow up. Everyone cares about their way of life being something possible in the future, whether it's ranchers on a working landscape or the Karuk tribal members having a homeland and getting land back. We have so much in common, and what we're finding in our approach here, and believe me, we're building it as we fly it, if that's not obvious. But storytelling is a direct way through the divisions and the barriers that have been built up between so many of these groups. And in our area, those barriers are very real. It's often hard to get conversations going because there's such different views about something, from the removal of the Klamath dams to agricultural interests and water issues and so forth. So a bit more about our approach, just so you can get a sense of where we're at and what we're doing here. So storytelling is at the forefront. I will also just, invite you into this idea that community building is really more of in our application, is more of a philosophy than an initiative. This is something that Ann Kubish, the outgoing president of the Ford Family Foundation, who serves Siskiyou County as well as Oregon, she eloquently describes in a recent paper that when funders come to the table, especially in these rural communities, where it's a really heavily funder-driven initiative to do community engagement, when it's a very opinionated initiative, it can unfortunately serve the purpose of reinforcing divisions that have already existed. The same players get the money, the same folks who are visible come to the table. So we're trying to bring in a storytelling philosophy as kind of like an engine behind our work. And frankly, we're starting to see some of the benefits of that. It's in a recent convening, we had maybe 50 individuals from across our county. We had heads of local jurisdictions. We had city managers. We had a representative from our regional power company. We had Karuk tribal members. And the fascinating thing was, at the end of this meeting, we called the meeting over and nobody left, right? People went to tables, they found corners of the room, and what did they start doing? They started just having these informal conversations that were actually quite powerful. So a couple examples for you. There was one table had the head of a local land conservation agency sitting next to the head of a local farm advocacy group, alongside a staffer from a state senator who graciously came up to this meeting. And they were able to have this conversation in little old Dunsmuir, California, that no one knows about. And this is a hidden conversation for all intents and purposes. And they're finding these little areas of overlap where, in this case, a specific piece of legislation that was really designed to kind of benefit both land conservation interests and farming interests was in fact having this unintended consequence, a negative consequence. So you have these three parties, it's the right three people at the right time. And what that story illuminates is this work is messy. You need incredible patience to do it. you don't know the outcome when you're going in. You know, we're trying to create a space of trust, and what we're seeing is some little evidence of that happening. Another vignette from that event, we had the head of the Department of Natural Resources, Bill Tripp, sitting at a table, and there was just a line coming back table as folks wanted to hear, tell me more about what you're doing to bring fire back to the landscape. You know, both the successes and many of the challenges that some we heard about in the panel this morning, of fire back on landscape and prescribed burning, but the Karuk tribe has been very successful in building coordination with the Forest Service and really shining the light. So where this work is going, you know, we're 6 months into our Regional Climate Collaboratives Award. Early in the planning work, as I say, it's messy and it takes time, and we are so grateful for the RCC funding program that gets this. It's really, I mean, as I look at things that could impact rural around our state, this kind of funding model gets it. It's open, it respects our autonomy, but it also welcomes engagement. So, you know, we're continuing with the listening work all throughout the county. We are starting to see some project areas bubbling up where we could go after collaborative funding. That's super exciting. It's it's obviously kind of a sexy area to go after collaborative funding models, but as someone, you know, not so delicately put, that does kind of risk this shotgun wedding. Test. We're back. Can I get a round of applause for the mic? You know, there's a risk of this shotgun wedding where partners come together for the sake of a project, and then the money goes away, and then the partnerships go away. We are 100% committed to the opposite of that. You know, we're building this work in collaboration with SGC, and we believe that we're building a partnership that's going to pay dividends. So here's our work. You know, our work is to model this kind of collaboration and connection building. It's to take time and do the listening. It's to recognize that listening work involves, you know, barbecues and parties. It involves tears and healing. It is the full gamut. So, you know, as an invitation, as a collaborative, we're in learning mode. So as those of you in the room have time and energy and an inclination, we would love to hear from you about models that you've seen work or opportunities to share experiences, and we welcome you up our way. So in closing, I'd like you to just return to that natural place for a moment. Take a breath, which I haven't done in the last 9 minutes, but apologies. You know, and just ground back into what's important in your work. Who are you working for? For what ends? Who's going to benefit from that? You know, and holding that specific place that you have in your mind, who was there before you and who will come after you're gone? Thank you so much.
I love those reminders, right? What are we doing? Who are we doing it for? I would like to welcome now one of our SGC favorites to the stage. We have Alexandra Gallo. Give it up. Come on up. Yeah. So Alex is a special advisor to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Make note. Overseeing the Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grant, a historic program authorized through the Inflation Reduction Act that will invest over $2.2 billion into grants, technical assistance in disadvantaged communities across the nation. She brings several years of developing and implementing innovative models for community transformation, including her work at the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the California Strategic Growth Council. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Mic works, amazing. My name is Alexandra Gallo, Special Advisor at CPA, based in Washington. Great. Born and raised in California, proudly, so I'm excited to be back here today. Former SGCer, as mentioned, transformative climate communities, former state government implementer, coming up on 1 year with the US EPA. So very exciting. And as a newer person to federal government, it's not every to highlight innovation. As noted throughout the last couple of days, we are in a very unique moment in time as it relates to climate investments and environmental justice. So today, you share with EPA's approach to community change grants, the development of this program, which is the single largest investment in environmental justice in history. So in 2022, President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law. The Inflation Reduction Act provided EPA with one-time $3 billion in funding for grants to benefit disadvantaged communities, and additional $200 million in technical assistance. Uniquely, the Inflation Reduction Act also established a new implementation authority for EPA within environmental justice. So with this, we were met with a very unique window of opportunity where US EPA received powerful insights from community members, which ultimately aligned with EPA's efforts toward more equitable grant making. Additionally, the language in Reduction Act was broad enough to flexibly and accommodate innovation, which is not always the case with how legislative action is written. So I just wanted to give a little bit of perspective in terms of where we are at with environmental justice federally compared to where we have been. So in just under 1 year, EPA stood up a new national program office on environmental justice and external civil rights. We went from awarding in the lower millions annually in planning grants to building out a $3 billion portfolio, including launching of the Technical Assistance Centers, the TICTACs, selecting 11 grant makers who will ultimately award planning subgrants throughout the country, and then awarding millions of dollars in planning and partnership development grants. And we're closing this out with the launch of our signature, most comprehensive and innovative environmental justice program, the Community Change Grants, which launched in November of 2023. To give a little bit more insight into our process, of course, an urgent need to deploy funds as quickly as possible to meet statutory requirements. All funding must be awarded by September of 2026. And so we also, though, wanted to meet the longstanding needs of communities. We began our program development efforts in February of last year, where we received input from over 1,000 organizations on every aspect of the program. We co-developed a framework for implementation with the National Environmental Justice Advisory Council. We worked with over 100 EPA staff in all of EPA's regions, from water to air, and we hosted several in-person, hybrid, and virtual listening sessions across the country. This led us to develop our Notice of Funding Opportunity, which opened, as I mentioned, last year and will remain open until November 2024. So these processes helped inform the program in two key ways. First is in taking a holistic approach in program development, where we wanted to develop a program that can better reflect the lived realities of communities and people across the country by tackling multiple community priorities in a single investment. And also have more innovative grant making. I'm sure many of you are familiar with some of the challenges associated with that. So we're trying many new things for the first time. So first I want to highlight our innovative approach, which is a very comprehensive approach to community investment. So collectively, in the range of $1 million, so communities can pursue projects ranging from green. Okay. Hello? Yes? Yeah? Maybe? Okay, great. So to continue, communities can pursue projects ranging from green infrastructure to community resilience centers, to decarbonization in homes and microgrids and more. At the same time, they can fund and pursue projects related to the direct removal of health-harming pollutants by providing clean air, clean water infrastructure, and removing hazardous waste. All of which will require a focus on collaborative governance. I know we've heard a lot about that over the last couple of days, as well as community strength, which aims to avoid the unintended displacement outcomes in communities, as well as maximize economic benefits locally. Additionally, maybe a little bit lesser known, in the range of $1 to $3 million, we can fund collaborative governance, as well as the development of advisory boards, equity action plans, participatory governance processes, and capacity building programs for environmental justice. So through these investments, EPA will prioritize community-driven projects, bolster strong cross-sectoral partnerships, and hopefully unlock even more access to resources to catalyze long-term and meaningful change. Additionally, when it comes to the programmatic innovations, for the first time in over a decade, EPA will host a one-year rolling application process where awards will be made on an ongoing basis to expedite funding to those who are ready. And throughout this 1 year, applicants will have the ability to
that's not the special part. So about a month left into our 6-month activation, the entrepreneurs rallied and they said, we don't want this place to close. Let's get the community involved. Let's put out the survey and have community fill it out and send it to CATA and Culture. So we got about 40 letters just like this that said, how has Culture Club brought value to the Midtown community? And those are some of the things that we got. These are just 2 of 40. So when you create culture in spaces, it transfers to community as well. So we're committed to shifting the cultural landscape in California by the year 2040. Not 2039, I had a little mix up with my thing. But we do that through building culture, making culture, keeping culture within underserved, but I call them culturally rich neighborhoods. People call them underserved, but they're really culturally rich. And now 2040, we're looking ahead, not just head down and trying to get through the day, you know, which is where a lot of BIPOC folks live. It's like we're just trying to get through the day. We're looking at 2040. We're taking corridors, and with our development partners, we're looking at how do we change the corridor in our neighborhoods. How do we then put in anti-displacement things like our first-time homebuyer program beforehand to reverse this gentrification from happening at the same time. The reason why there's culture and there is no you in culture, because there really is no culture without you, without everyone. You know what I mean? But now that I just showed you that, there is no risk, yo. Like, if you don't sit and connect with other folks that are in here and make these changes, these words just become jargon. And I don't want that for you all. I don't want that for our culture. So, my name is Roshaun Davis. I am culture, just like you are culture. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I mean, how lovely was that? Let's give it up for our 4 speakers. It's brilliant to be in these spaces and those, again, reminders of how do we connect back to who we are, what is our culture without us, without our communities, the innovation that's in these spaces, the connections with local governments, our federal governments, the state governments, and each other. Again, how are we able to kind of strategize, keep the momentum going over the next several years? I think we heard a lot over the last few days, and now I think it's a great space to move into our networking session, right? Roshaun is saying, how do we connect? He connected with folks last year. Let's keep it going with our network opportunities. We have 4 spaces to connect. We also have multiple spaces if you just need to do a one-on-one, if you need to sit somewhere quietly, but we would love for you to all join. So if you have the Whova app, you can check it out. There are designated spaces in the Whova app where you can check out the rooms. We have 4 spaces that I'll mention right now. The first one is connecting federal funders, developers, and communities through virtual power plants, so the VPP space. Who's going to be in that space? If we can get a hand raised there. Yeah? Awesome. Okay, we have philanthropy and nonprofit networking hands. Okay, project workshops, project development. Yeah? All right. And then we have a tribal networking session. This is space for tribal folks that identify as a tribal member, community member. Let's keep that space specifically for those who recognize themselves that way. And in addition, please connect with our hexagons outside. You will see them on the floors. They're very large. Walk around them. Put some pins on there. Put your notes and your Post-its. We have 2 out here on the floor space and then 1 up there. And then also against the wall when you go out to the main room, we have our mapping space. 3 pins, 3 colors. Where are you from? Where are your projects? Where do you want to see your projects? Please engage there. And then we got a lot of swag remaining, so please pick up all the swag, right? We don't want to take it home. We want you to take it, share it with your folks in your community, in your spaces. Pick up these pins. And then after that, we will come back to this room. So this will be a closing space for us. We have had our resident poet laureate from Rancho Cordova, our youth poet laureate, that's going to come back and bless us with her poem that she's been kind of thinking about writing over the last 2 days. So please come back. Let's hear her and let's give her that strength and get invigorized by her words. So that's our next couple of hours. We'll see you back. Thank you.
Hi, one quick announcement. The public transit folks, you can meet in the cafeteria. That one received a lot of hex pins.